Hey everyone, I am back with another Pro Organizer interview. Today's podcast guest is Shannon Mckinney, who is the professional organizer behind Holman Hope Home Organizing, based out of Houston, Texas. And we had a fabulous conversation talking all about overcoming perfectionism in starting your business, some intense subcontractor organizing jobs. I know that you are curious to find out about that. And we talked about how she made it possible to start a career that she was truly passionate about, and how you can find purpose in your career no matter what stage of life you're in. It was such a great conversation. If you are starting or leveling up your professional organizing business, I guarantee you will walk away with tons of value from this episode. So I invite you to stick around and let's get into it. Hey, and welcome back to the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, decluttering expert, and productivity-based life coach. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. Before we get into this episode, let's check out our special offers. If you need help figuring out the next steps in starting or leveling up your current professional organizing business, I encourage you to get on my schedule by clicking the link in the description or the pinned comment of this video to get on my schedule for a low-cost professional consultation. I sit with you for an hour. You can ask me any question. Nothing is off the table, and I will help you develop killer strategies in social media, finding the name for your business, what kind of business entity you want to form, pricing structure, how to find clients, all kinds of stuff. We talk about it all. So I'm here to help you. I'm definitely your gal when it comes to all things starting your pro organizing business or learning how to level up with strategy. Be sure to check out that link down in the description below and the pinned YouTube comment. Hurry up and get on my schedule before it fills up for the entire month. Those spots are going fast. And if you're not into spending hours on the business part of your organizing business and you'd rather focus on your clients, getting in and doing organizing sessions, I have my signature Pro Organizer Forms pack with 9 custom done-for-you forms that you're able to plug into a Canva account, customize to match your brand, and it will help you get paying clients faster. If you don't have a contract yet, if you don't have health and safety waivers, if you don't know how to present TAC plans for working on decluttering projects or space maps, things of that nature, I've got it all covered for you in my Pro Organizer Forms pack. Be sure to check out the link to that down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Speak Organized podcast. I am so happy to be joined by Shannon Mckinney from Holman Hope Home Organizing, Triple H there. And I just want to welcome you and have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your business, and we will get rolling from there.
Thank you so much for having me, Melanie. I'm so excited and a little nervous. So if I stumble, I appreciate you guys all giving me a little grace. So my name is Shannon Mckinney, and I officially launched my website, my Instagram, and all of that July 15th, 2 years ago. I decided to start organizing the week before spring break of 2020, and how that happened, how that turned out. I had like a potential 75. I just kind of did like a little Facebook marketplace, like in my neighborhood. Would anybody be interested for 3 hours? I'll take 3 people. That allowed me to work on my website. I joined NAPO and took classes, and I'm not a certified professional organizer, which takes thousands of hours, but I am a professional organizer through NAPO. And so Holman Hope, I know we were talking a little bit before we got started. So when I was planning, and my favorite colors are orange and navy. So I'm a big navy person. So I was doing colors and all of that. I was like, my name, what can my name be? And I just struggled and struggled and struggled. And I thought, my middle name is my former maiden name, which is Holman. My daughter's middle name is Hope, and I'm an only child. My daughter's an only child. And I just thought Holman Hope Home Organizing. I was like, does it roll off the tongue easily? But it has home organizing. And so that's just what I landed on. And it reminds me of why I do what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think it really doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. When I talk to other people who are just bashing their head against the wall, trying to figure out whatever their name is going to be. I'm like, listen, as long as it's very clear what you do, like you said, you have home organizing in there. That's really all you need to worry about. And then you can also always rebrand at any time if necessary. But, if it's a personal thing and it is meaningful to you, your business is kind of like a second child, or a third or fourth child, right? It's
yes, absolutely. Yes.
So that makes complete sense to me. I came up with my name out of an old AIM screen name that I used to have in like 7th grade. If anybody out there remembers AOL Instant Messenger.
AIM?
Yeah, AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, AOL. Yes.
Yes. And so that was where my name came from. I've had it forever. And it was just one of those weird little things that is only relevant to me. And, but It's fine because everybody kind of knows what that means. So right there with you.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that you started this business sort of like right at the edge of the pandemic. And so we were talking a little bit before we started recording this about how you're finding it difficult to find time to work on your business because you're so busy working in it. And so if you were going to give yourself some time to start all of this process over again, how long would you say that it took you, or how long would you want to have time to work on your business?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's my least favorite thing to do.
I love the brutal honesty.
Well, I mean, it just is. I mean, I love that productivity goes along with organizing. To me, productivity is just like, right arm, left arm. I feel like it was an ample amount of time. I find that I'm still adding things to it. So for instance, I recently joined Dipsado, which will allow me to do client capture. Do I 100% know what that is, how that's going to work yet? No. But instead of using Pages and like Apple, and then some clients, I have to transfer everything to like a PDF or Word. And so doing everything on my laptop, I find that it can be really daunting at the end of a long day, and then making dinner for family. And then you sit down and you're sending an invoice. And if I can try Dipsado, which I signed up for, and just kind of like streamline all of that and have it all in one place, that's going to be a lot easier. So kind of like what you mentioned, if you have to rebrand, or if you have to kind of think about, okay, this is not working the best for me. Is it fine? Yes. But can I improve that process? And so I just kind of like, okay, just kind of learn as you go in a certain way with that kind of thing. I have a good friend who's an organizer, and she is extremely, she takes every class, she takes every note. She really, goes by her head, where I feel like I tend to just kind of like go with my intuition and my heart and my gut. And so I'll just kind of jump in and course correct where needed. Yeah, I don't like to get too wrapped up and overthink it. I'm pretty decisive. And so I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. Yeah, I think you touched on a few really important points that some of our listeners and viewers, especially those people who are starting an organizing business, might really appreciate. One is that you kind of are just jumping in and learning as you go, rather than overthinking it, trying to make it perfect before you go and launch your business. So you are proof of just kind of jumping in and going for it, that because you're very busy.
Yeah, well, I still do. I do some subcontracting work in between my own clients, and I'm lucky in that like some of my clients have been repeat clients. That being said, they travel in the summer, things like that. And so I feel that once Labor Day is over, so for us, we go back to school in 2 weeks. And so I feel like the time between school starting and Labor Day, after Labor Day comes, I want that Dipsado done. I want to be ready to hit the ground, because I feel like it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a bit of a roller coaster with clients, and it does kind of dip in the summer a little bit. It depends on what people are working on. But yeah, a lot of my more regular clients are out of town. I'm out of town. We're kind of trying to be in more low power mode over the summer anyway.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I totally understand that. And then I wanted to just clarify and have you kind of talk a little bit more about Dubsado. So it's a CRM, which is a customer relationship management software, right?
Mhm.
So for anybody who is looking for something that's more of an all-in-one, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that software will help you do for your business so that you don't have to spend all this time and energy in millions of different places?
Yes, yes. So I think that one way that it can help. So basically, if someone were to contact me through my website, which my last big job last week, and then a job I have next week, both of these women have done, and they found me through like a neighborhood area trading, information trading Facebook group. They emailed me through my website. I tend to check things pretty regularly, but so what Dubsado can do is have like a canned response. We'll get back to you right within 12 hours or something like that. And then, I'm extremely non-techie. I mean, my daughter has to help me with can you copy and paste my hashtags? Like seriously.
Yes, love it.
So yeah, I'm hoping that it can kind of like from the very beginning of the funnel all the way through the end of the job. So I do like to give proposals and product suggestions. I don't do, obviously like it's going to take this amount of time, but just to kind of give them, everybody wants kind of like a ballpark estimate of the cost. So I feel like it's just going to help me automate everything between, the capture through the very end of the invoicing the client and then keeping all of that information. So
gotcha.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've heard really great things about it. And I know it's kind of nice to have all of those different variables under one roof rather than having to try and piece together multiple different softwares to control invoices, client files, email responses, all of the things that we have to deal with, all the like gross businessy stuff that nobody wants to deal with. It's nice to have it all under one roof. You'll have to let me know if you like it.
I absolutely will. I mean, I will say that. So when I started my business, straight out of college, I was pre-law and stayed and worked for my dad's business doing bookkeeping for 25 years. And it was time for me to have a new career. He had retired and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But that being said, he was in the shipping industry, like the ships that come to the port. I live in Houston, a huge port city. In international shipping, you might get messages, from Greece or from anywhere across the globe. And so it was just ingrained in me to answer everything right away. And I'm trying to retrain my brain because I'll get a text, I'll get an email, and I'm like, right away, I have to, but so anyway, I feel like having those systems in place will kind of help me like take a little bit of pressure off. Like, okay, I'm about to, get in the car, drive my kid to school and then go to a job. And do I need to pull over and send an email? And I'm like, okay, it'll just kind of like, I feel take a little bit of the pressure off while still getting back to the client or potential client as soon as possible and letting them know that, hey, I'm so grateful you reached out. I can't wait to, talk with you about your project and your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Having automation and process, especially if you're a solo business owner, if you don't have somebody like in the office doing admin stuff for you, because we wear so many hats, it's really important. And also it's nice, all of the different automation softwares and tools we have available now. It makes starting your own business so much easier as long as you're willing. Like I'm kind of the opposite where I'm a tech nerd. And so I get really distracted by all the new shiny things. And so I'm always like, just pick one thing and go for it. If you want to transfer to a new platform or learn something else, but it's really just a matter of choosing something that will work and going for it. And so I'm happy to hear that you're going to be able to free up some additional time for yourself to be a real person and focus on the fun part of your business.
Yes. I do want to give one quick shout out though. It's an app called Hours Keeper. And I still use this and if I can figure it out, anyone can figure it out. I want to say it's free unless you have like, say, 150 clients or something. You have your client, you log in, you log out, and then it has reports like what you've made for the week, what you've made for the quarter, what you've made for the year, what you made last year at this time. Super, super low tech. And it's been a game changer. So I still do use that just to calculate my time. And then end of the year doing my taxes, I'm like, I spent this much time with this person. I made this percentage of money off of like maybe subcontracting for this person. So anyway, that's just that's been really cool. That's a great little tool for someone that's maybe looking for something not as, number one, expensive, but also maybe a little bit more low tech until you really decide, I want Dupsado, or I want I think there's something 21 hats or different things like that.
Yes.
But that's a super great little tool that's helped me immensely.
What's it called?
It's called Hours Keeper.
Hours Keeper. Okay. I'll make sure that we put that down in the description of the video and the podcast show notes that everybody can check that out. I talk to plenty of people that are just like, make it super simple. I like that it's an app too. So that's helpful.
Yes. Yes. Super, super easy.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Let's pivot and talk about the more fun stuff.
Okay.
The actual organizing part of your business.
Yeah.
Because so you've been doing it for a while. You are a NAPO member, and so you've taken some classes and maybe have a little bit more of an understanding of what your specialty or your niche is. So do you want to kind of tell us a little bit more about the types of clients that you work with and what you love and what you specialize in?
Yes. Very first client was a pantry. I envisioned myself doing, because I love clothes. And always have. And I'm like, I'm going to just do closets. And before I got married, even though I was working full time, I did closets and some wardrobe stuff on the weekends, even got my DBA, just kind of just for fun. But, and then my second job was a 2-day job. It was a home library, and I love books. And I volunteered at my daughter's school library. But anyway, so at first I was like, okay, I know they say define your niche, before you get started with your business and all of that. I didn't quite limit myself, but I came to the conclusion that I would say I try to make busy families' lives easier. I've also done unpacking and then organizing a few times. And that client has since hired me for different areas of the home. I would say that that's probably the bulk of what I do. When I first began, there was a hoarding job, which was several weeks, where you actually wore the Tyvek on the crazy 40-foot dumpsters and things like that. Is not my niche. That is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Grateful for the experience, for sure.
You said that was a subcontracting job with a different company?
Well, for another NAPO member.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our local chapter, they'll post on hey, is anybody available? Such and such or such and such. And so I've gotten to know a few people. So that's been a big resource. And it's also great whenever I need subcontractors. I found some people that I hire often. And so it's really great. You have a working style that, there's one woman that I work with a lot, and she's super techie. She's always into all of the, she's younger than me. But I can just look at her and I'm like, she's like, yes. She knows I love styling bookcases, whereas she likes to really get into the tiny details like beads or Legos or things like that. It's really been beneficial. But I would say just overall, there's really not much that I haven't done. I'm not a huge garage person. Very, very hot.
Not at this time of year in Texas.
Not at this time of year. I would say that I've always had a love of I do have 2 antique still lifes in my dining room. I love interior design. I mean, I have a more eclectic style, but I really love making something functional, organized well, a system in place that the client can maintain. But I do love tricking it out and making it look really pretty. So yeah, I would just say busy moms that run households, if I can just kind of take an area and make it better for them and make their lives easier and make them get out the door more quickly, or, walk in their pantry and smile, or have them, my clothes, I know where everything is.
Yeah. Very similar to my business, I think. It's more, like you said at the very beginning, where productivity is a big part of it. It's right arm and left arm. And so it's not always about making it the most aesthetic and having that be the focus, but also more so just functional. I don't have the interior design eye at all, so I'm going to be hitting you up for some tips on that. I find that I set up the system, I'm like, great, but it looks kind of janky sometimes. So
hey, I try to use what people have. I try to stay within people's budgets. I absolutely believe it's better for the environment if we can use what they have and things like that. So I mean, believe me. But I mean, I don't have a professional setup. One of my books that I took down is House Beautiful, color. It's just fun for me, and it inspires me and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure you enjoy doing a lot of that interior design and decoration throughout your home too.
I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you did touch on this a bit. You were talking about you love doing closets, you love clothes, you like your antique things. Can you think of one specific, let's take it this way. Have you ever thought about like, is there one project or one client that you've worked for that was just your absolute favorite? Like you'll never forget this particular project or something that you just
Yes.
had such a ball.
Yes. So I don't want to single anyone out, but I will just say that for anyone that is listening, that is a NAPO member, or if you have an opportunity, there's a class that I took on NAPO, and it was just like a little free little, or like a $20 little class. One of the most valuable things, and it's called What Your Clients Wish You Knew. And so every client is like, because it's vulnerable and you're walking into their home, and so every client is different. But so I'd had this client, and it was like a playroom, homeschooling area, and it was a good 40 minutes away. And so, and I do charge for anything over an hour round trip. I do like a very small trip charge. That being said, because she was far, I had to mail some additional labels and things like that. Well, just did my best, and it wasn't necessarily the best fit. Mm-hmm. And then the next job I had the next week, getting ready to sell their house, beautiful home, beautiful pantry. I think I've done more pantries than anything, which is surprising because I was envisioning myself as like the closet person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to photograph this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make it beautiful. And I was like, okay, well, so I wanted her to be aware every single day. And I didn't hire a sub. I just did it all myself. And I was like, okay, well, these are the bins that I purchased today. And this is what, and she's like, do whatever you need to do. That's why I hired you. You're fantastic. You just do what you need to do. And I'm like, launch. I'm like, that's right. That is why she hired me. And yeah, she's like, I mean, just easygoing. And so I feel like the client that I'd had previously, I was like, okay, like kind of like minding my P's and Q's about every tiny detail. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you have a client that's like, go for it, you know?
Yeah, you're the expert.
Yeah. So it was just so refreshing. And it just kind of like built my confidence back after like, you know, a not as perfect fit with a client. So.
Right. That's I think a really important thing to just point out and reiterate too, is that, and I speak to a lot of business coaching clients that get concerned that they're going to upset a client or it's not going to be quite a good fit. And I always tell them that that's okay, because you want to have that experience of what does work and what doesn't, so that you have the understanding of where you can take your business or what types of clients you want to try to work with more often. Absolutely. And also you just get that experience like you were talking about earlier. Just go for it, you know? Yeah. Yes. Just try whatever you think works. And okay, so remind me, what was the name of the class you said you took?
So it was a NAPO class, and it was called What Your Clients Wish You Knew.
Okay. And what exactly did you learn in that class?
I just learned, and again, I feel like I kind of really work with my heart, my gut, my intuition. I'm not great at a lot of things. I always kind of liken it to like that John Nash, Beautiful Mind. I'm not great with math, but I can look at a pantry. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to do this. And also being Southern, I try to do things with a little bit of honey. But what I learned in that class is that not only do your clients, they're looking to you for help, but you're coming into their homes. Oftentimes you're going into extremely personal spaces, and they feel vulnerable. And I've been in some absolutely amazing 8,000 square foot, beautiful homes where I'm like, what do you need me here for exactly again? But you know, but everyone feels, is this the worst you've ever seen? Is this the biggest mess you've ever seen? And so, and like I said, I've done a job where we would fill a 40-foot dumpster every day. So no, it's not the worst I've seen. And so what I really loved about that class is and I'm getting goosebumps. It's just kind of like the perspective that they need reassurance, you know, that you're there for them and you're going to help them, that you see them, that you hear them. And so, yeah, I just found it. I'll shout it from the rooftops. I mean, it was super great, super great.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's a very valuable thing too, because we often as professionals get so caught up in how well we're going to do and how it's going to reflect on us. And we sort of just forget that these are people. And like you said, coming into their personal space, it's a very vulnerable situation that they're allowing a stranger essentially to come in and try to help with this. And if they feel like you're meeting their needs where they are and you're not judging them in their situation, and you're just there to help. And that's Absolutely. What I always say. It's like people just need help, and that's it. You know, you don't really need to think about all of the other nitpicky details really until later on in like a styling process, or if you're on that type of job. But you're right, every single client, regardless of the situation, and that's my experience as well, where they're just like, and I get that question all the time. It's so funny. It's like, this is the worst you've ever seen, right? And I'm like, not even close.
Right.
It never is. So I totally get that.
I had a consultation a few weeks ago, and she'd emailed me through my website, and her email was, I need major decluttering help. And so I arrived at her home I like to do in-person consultations when possible after a brief, because I visually want to like see it, feel it, all of that. And she said, well, I didn't straighten up before you came. And I said, I'm so glad you didn't. And I walked in like, what is there to really straighten up?
Yeah.
You know? But so in her mind, my cat is trying to climb the chair. In her mind, she was like, major decluttering help. But so to her, it bothered her. Like she just needs it's a mudroom area, and I'll be there next week. And if I take some good photos, I'll post them on the gram. I'm not a great photographer nor editor, but anyway, but so to her, that space was driving her bonkers. To me, I'm like, yes, it can use some refinement, but it's not that bad. But it's kind of like if the dentist says, I'll take whoever's tooth hurts the worst, everybody's tooth hurts, right? To them, does that make sense? You know?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's definitely a very personal thing. Everybody has their own clutter threshold.
Yes.
And it is a very personal thing. And some people might really be comfortable in more of a space that is organized, but messy. Tidiness and organized are two totally different things.
Right.
And I think sometimes they get confused. And so it can mean different things to different people. And so it's just a matter of like determining that client's specific threshold, what their definition of tidy and organized is, you know.
I love that. The threshold for tidiness. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I can't take any credit for that. That one is a Dana K. White reference. She wrote the book. I talk about this all the time because it's one of my favorite books. It's Decluttering at the Speed of Life. It's such a good book. For anybody, even as somebody who does this for a living, it really kind of put a lot of what I feel like our clients go through. It put a lot of that into perspective, and it's a very personal journey for the author of her being kind of a clutter bug and going through the process of untangling all of those mental and emotional attachments to things and reframing her mindset about how she was then able to let go of a lot of things that she's like, why am I keeping this bathtub in my backyard for 12 years? I don't know, like stuff like that.
I love reading stuff like that.
Oh yeah. No, you would definitely love it. So I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
Cool. So let's see here. I'm looking at my questions. I want to know, I don't think we've talked about this yet, really. Can you just kind of flesh out and talk about how you learned about the organizing industry?
So I've always been into, and I don't have anyone here to help, but I have like a Martha Stewart housekeeping handbook, which is literally 800 pages. I've always been into like home care and all of that. And so while I didn't know that it was necessarily an industry, I did do some closets, like I said, and just like wardrobe. I got a DBA and everything before I got married. And so right when I was embarking on this, what kind of like the impetus for it was, I was in a doctor's office waiting room reading Real Simple, which I don't ever read. I mean, it's a fine publication, but they always have them at the doctor's office.
Yep.
And I was there with my daughter, who was 11 at the time, and going through, and it said something about like home organizing. And it was like a brick fell on my head. The choir sang. It was just like, I had an extremely visceral response. And I said, Caroline. And I pointed and she goes, Mama. Because that's just like, I would always say to my husband, who's outside, but like, oh, I have a system for that. I'm a Virgo. I'm very perfectionistic. Everything has to. And so when I woke up that morning before spring break for my first little consultation, I was just going to do a little, and I almost bounced out of bed. And so like, that's how I knew that I'd chosen the right thing. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. I'm not a stubborn person, but I just went all in and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything else. I was turning 50 that year and I'm like, no. And so it's amazing how a little bit of tenacity, a little bit of education, a little bit of being in the right place at the right time, and just being willing to try anything, to do the job, roaches and hoarding and, all of that kind of stuff. It's finally like paying off. The fact that like I get to do what I love every day with purpose and with vision and help people live their lives, having things like more organized, getting out the door faster, all those little ways that I can help clients. To me, it really feels, and I'm going to get a little emotional, finding my purpose at this stage of my life and hopefully inspiring other people. And maybe even, my teenager might want to like roll her eyes for the next couple of years, but then hopefully, she'll look back and say, hey, wow. And actually one other really cool thing I just wanted to say that I had the opportunity to do that I don't think that we've talked about that I mentioned is I got to teach some classes at her school, at her high school.
Oh, cool.
She goes through a pre-K through 12th grade school. Last spring and the spring before, I got to teach 2 classes to 2 different classrooms of teenagers. And it was a little terrifying, but so rewarding. And then I have to do it again this year. And they have like some classes before spring break for the high schoolers. And this particular class was like a week-long class called life skills. So one day they would have like CPR, one day they would have an accountant, one day. So all of this kind of stuff. And so they asked me back.
Awesome.
Yeah. So fun. Yeah. I don't know if that's like can fit into what we're talking about, but just like finding like passion and purpose and things like that. Yes. And, have I gotten clients? No, they're teenagers. But if I can instill like a few little things, like if you bookend your day and your morning and your week and your month and can set them up for any type of success, I'm passionate about it. And so it just fills me with joy. And
absolutely. Yeah. There's just so many great things that you have brought to light about this. And so first of all, it's never too late to find your purpose and passion for life, even if it's like as simple as organizing somebody else's space so that their lives can function and flow. I get such an immense sense of satisfaction through that as well. Yes. And so that in and of itself is just like a great reason to, like you said, just jump out of bed and get to work. And it really is possible and it can happen at any time. And also I've worked with so many clients and spoken to people over the phone who are, moms, maybe empty nesters in their late 40s, early 50s. And it breaks my heart when I talk to them because they always say like, nobody ever taught me how to do this stuff. And it's all very simple life skills that our kids are not learning these things. I'm giving major props to the school that brought you in as part of this life skills program and learn these basic things of how to take care of ourselves and our space and how to value that and just learn these things that are so important. And so, you're doing a life service to people. It's not just about running your business and making the money and putting food on your table. And obviously all those things are important, but it's more than that. It really is. Oh, yes.
I feel like you and I are a lot on the same page as far as that kind of thing goes. And like, I absolutely love Marcus Lemonis and used to watch Profit, just loved him. But he's always like, the people, the process like comes before the money will follow. And so, if you put people first, and that's very alliterative. So I'm like, pup. But so I feel like if you do that and you do the work, then you will be successful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Going at it from a perspective of giving, because generosity and having a giving spirit are very magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I mean, and that's why I have my YouTube channel. That's why I have my podcast. That's why I put out all of the content that I do and I give it to people, because all of the things that I need to sustain my business come from that. And when I learned that, it just made everything flow so much more naturally, and it feels good. I don't feel like I'm taking anything or like being shady. I feel like it really is more about the other person and helping them and giving them and contributing
Yes.
to your
And
environment
that comes back to you, right? Even like multifold, because,
Absolutely.
giving with a giving heart and a giving spirit, just like what I would want to give to my clients, I feel like I have really high expectations that I want to please them.
Mhm.
And I feel like that they can sense that I really have their best interest at heart and at mind. And like with a generous heart and spirit, it all does come back to you.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's why we get along so well.
Yes.
Okay, so I just have a couple more questions just to round this interview
Okay,
out.
we'll wrap this baby up.
Totally. So I want to know if you can think of off the top of your head, what is a challenging aspect of your job? What do you think is the most challenging part?
I would say probably what I just kind of touched on is that it does take a lot of, I love that a lot of these TV shows and different things are putting our business more on the forefront. I feel like it doesn't necessarily show, it shows a snippet, but it doesn't show like the nitty gritty and the hard work, and how sometimes you might be on a floor surrounded by products in a pantry or something like that. And it takes like planning and forethought and measuring and all of that kind of stuff. It's not like glamorous like it is on the TV shows.
Not at all.
Yes. And then, for instance, like doing an unpacking, and then the next day I'm 51 and I'm walking like Frankenstein because my back and my, legs hurt.
Yeah.
And like getting those massages, I would say one massive challenge is that I did a garage, and I was like, have I ever consulted with the container store and had it built out and like measured? No. Am I going to do it? Yes. Did I do it? Yes. But then she wanted to unload a storage room on top of what I had already done. So everything I had planned for it didn't exactly turn out.
Oh, yeah.
And then she wanted to use the containers, which she had, which were great, but they didn't fit properly on the Alpha system. And I was just coordinating like the installer and then the delivery of the Alpha and so it's a lot. And then at the end of the day, you come home and you've worked hard, but you still have to pick the kid up from school, start like all of that kind of stuff, and then send an invoice So yeah, I would just say just kind of like all of the balls in the air can be a little challenging. And that's when I have like my Epsom salt,
yes,
hot bath, glass of wine, whatever. I used to think that like self-care was more for like, millennials. And then September of 2020, I'm like with the exhaust fan on in my bathroom, just crying. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could take a bath, maybe that. And so that's when I've started to institute that kind of stuff. So to offset the challenges.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw my Instagram story from yesterday, just to give you a brief synopsis of it. I was helping a client do a packing session. She's getting ready to move. I was packing away all of her decanted baking supplies and picked a container up from the top that was not properly sealed. Cocoa powder went flying everywhere. It was a nightmare disaster. Yeah. And so I shared that story on Instagram yesterday. Oh, well, you're busy.
Okay.
But Marissa messaged me and she was like, this is what I keep telling people, that organizing is an extreme sport. People don't understand, it's so true. And I have a back brace in my bag, steel-toed boots when I'm working in garages, because I do a lot of garages, and you just never know, I've had wrenches come flying at my face, and just any possible thing that you can think of, in addition to exactly what you were talking about, all the different things that you have to coordinate, all those little details.
Yes.
To bring about that final result that we all see, know, and love on Netflix or, what have you.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yes. I love it too, but it also, it's the tip of the iceberg of 90% of the work that we actually do.
Right.
So yes, I totally agree. I'm with you on that one. It is a huge challenge.
Yes.
Our job.
Yes.
But we love it anyway. We love it anyway.
Oh, absolutely. I would not trade it for the world. I wouldn't do anything else.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that is a perfect note to end on. And I just wanted to thank you so much. Yes, this has been wonderful. You've been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all so much for being here. It's been an honor to have your time today. I really hope that this episode has given you some encouragement and additional resources as you continue your journey in becoming a business owner. It's not an easy thing to do, but we are here for you. I'm here for you every step of the way. Don't forget to check out my schedule, book a session to strategize and really get your business up and running the right way or moving in the direction that you need it to. Happy to help you there. And before you go, be sure to check out all those resources that we've discussed today in the podcast. They're down in the show notes or in the description of the YouTube video, however you are here today. Check those out before you leave so you don't miss out on any of those golden nuggets. And beyond that, I hope you all have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.